Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I once again am the Cryptic Narwhal and welcome back to my channel. Today we are I'm doing this literally after the episode. We're doing another recap of the Sons of Appalachia. Instead of waiting another week like I've previously done, I'm getting this one out on a decent time. So I hope you all enjoy. Firstly, my thoughts of the episode are pretty good. This is, once again, one of their best episodes, and it's actually, the scare factor is up there. I'm not going to spoil what exactly happens, we're going to get into that in the recap, but I really enjoyed it and cannot wait for the next episode. So, without me talking for too much longer, let's just get right into it. Alright, to start us off with episode 8, No Weapons Allowed, Wild Bill Goes Missing, we start off with another promotion for CryptidCon, November 22nd and 23rd. However, we've already talked about that previously, so we're going to go ahead and skip it and get right into the episode. We start out with a recap of the previous episode, showcasing that the tape the team received and revealing that Huckleberry has a secret that he must tell to the world. Then we get into the intro with Jared King and that awesome theme song, and now we're right into it. A little differently though, we start off with a video from their, they went on a road trip to the Upper Cumberland Bigfoot Festival, and in that video, if you haven't watched, Buck actually received a note for a meeting, a no weapons meeting. This meeting takes place November 8th, 5 p.m., and the location was sent to them through a text, which we later get that text in a live stream. This meeting actually isn't with the 13th Dominion itself, but rather someone who knows about them. They were previously a part of Rogue Team and is willing to spill everything on them. They're missing clues, and this Rogue Team member knows what it is. They say to follow the red hand with the letters IIAT at the bottom. We currently do not know what these letters mean, but I imagine they're very important. So the next morning, everyone meets up together in their Airbnb with Bill reading a book. I know, a very rare sight. Even more rare than the infamous Sasquatch, I'd say. Bill states he's going to try beating a few of these records, and that'll be very interesting indeed if he decides to do so. Buck starts off the meeting with the letter he got under his door with the red hand and R in the middle of it. Bill and Huckleberry immediately are interested in what this meeting could be, and the guys go over the letters on the note and the fact that it's by a Rogue Team member. You know, they haven't had the best, relationship with Rogue Team in the past. In fact, they've actually kidnapped them, a few times on occasion. So yeah, this will be a very interesting meeting. And after this, we actually cut to the live stream they did on the 8th of November and show off a moment where Buck receives a text on his phone and the fact it's about the meeting they're supposed to have. This text, in my theory, and it's not even a theory, this is just fact, the text must have been the location, since the original note mentioned that the location was going to be sent through a text. Very awesome to see the storyline carry over into other videos and even live streams. It's just very interesting to see. We even get a little bit of footage after the live stream that just shows Buck showing the text to Huckleberry. And now here we are into the actual episode. We're now back at West Virginia for some nighttime action. They all get out of Buck's truck and look at the message with GPS coordinates to the meeting spot. Very interesting that they asked for no weapons. However, when it's involving the Rogue Team, you can never be too safe since, as I mentioned, they've kidnapped members of the team in the past. The guys start heading down through the woods, and as winter quickly arrives, the vibes of this meeting would be very different. It's a lot more colder, the leaves are all on the ground off the trees, making it easier to spot people and creatures out there in the woods with them, since you can hear the rustling of leaves and even see through the tree lines easier. As they continue to the meeting spot, we actually see some lights in the background. I think later in the episode they mentioned that they're near a river, so that could just be lights from the moon shining onto the river. However, I've seen a lot of people call this out, so it could be something. As they almost reach the spot, we start to hear some weird flickering, fluttering, clipping noise, most likely coming from above them. Almost like a bug maybe flapping its wings or something of the sorts. It's a very interesting noise, however, nothing's to be seen around them. They start walking again deeper into the path in the woods. They are very vulnerable in this current position as they're in between two hills. Something above them could easily just throw something down on top of them, making it a very dangerous spot that they're in. And the coordinates are around the area they're generally in, so they must be getting close. Around this point in time, I started thinking less and less like someone wanted to meet up with them, and more like someone wanted to sabotage them, most likely the 13th Dominion. They've been warned to stop, but never did, so maybe this is them trying to either scare or attack them. However, let's get further into this episode and see how it plays out. Bill calls out, but to no response. That fluttering sound does come back once again, and not really seeing what it could be. Huckleberry mentions that they should stop and listen. If there's anything or anyone out in the woods, they'd be able to hear them due to the leaves, so that's what they do. Huckleberry mentions that he doesn't hear anything, and Buck mentions that maybe they can try going a little farther, but I had another theory in this moment that Dominion 13 caught wind of what the Rogue Team member wanted to do, and maybe took care of them, preventing him from revealing any secrets. If you're watching this, you probably already know what happens. However, me blind reacting to this and writing the script, I just had no clue what happens, but something here is definitely wrong. Huckleberry mentions things definitely feel off a bit, however the team continues walking up the woods, but seconds after they notice a note on a tree with the name SOA and then some more letters at the bottom, this time them being TSRAP with a little smiley face. And I knew instantly what was happening here. If you recall the letters on the first note being IIAT, and if we fill in the gaps, we get this, ITSATRAP. It's a trap. This is not good. The notes are telling them that it's a trap, but the guys do not realize this and decide to open the letter, assuming the Rogue Team member wrote more information in the envelope. I think they do put it together later on, but right now they have no clue what they've walked into. Upon opening up the envelope, we see a multiple page document with 13th Dominion at the top and file name Ridge Ripper. I have no clue what's in this document, however it could be something to give the 13th Dominion time to close in and execute their trap. In the document, we see a new cryptid that I do not recognize at all. It almost looks like a sort of goblin, however very tall, and it seems like it has its internal organs are, well, external. However, Huckleberry recognized it as the cave creature, and Bill did too. This episode must have slipped my mind because I would have never made the connection. The note says that the document holds physical evidence and a field analysis on the Ridge Ripper. This must be a new creature that the team hasn't gone up against yet. In the document, there are a set of coordinates to where this Ridge Ripper creature resides, and if you didn't watch, those coordinates are exactly where they're standing, meaning that they are prime into the territory of this Ridge Ripper or cave creature, whatever this thing is. If we put all the pieces together here, we know that the note says it's a trap, and if this creature is real, maybe the 13th Dominion led them there without any of their guns to get injured or worse by this Ridge Ripper. Why the 13th Dominion would tell the guys it's a trap is far beyond my current knowledge, but this is putting the guys in a very dangerous position, and they don't even know it. However, let's see how it plays out. Buck gets into the contents of this document, and it has like alternate names, behaviors, and its threat rating being high in that it engages with humans. As he finishes reading that, we hear a screech come from deep in the woods. He keeps reading. It exhibits stalking patterns and is an ambusher. And they make the connection how they're right in the middle of its land. Maybe those fluttering noises we heard earlier were the Ridge Ripper, however we just do not know. However, we do hear those noises once more coming from behind them as Buck further reads the document. He reads off the description of what it looks like, and we hear more noises, this time sounding like a bat squeaking. They mention that they shouldn't be hearing bats since it's way too cold for them to be out this time of year, making it almost certain that it is the Ridge Ripper or some other cryptid. Buck continues reading until he gets to a point in the document mentioning that it has a den, connecting it once again to perhaps being facing the cave creature. If you recall Season 2, Episode 11 of Mountain Monsters, they had actually gone into a cave system with that thing in Greenbrier County. Huckleberry mentions that they aren't even that far from Greenbrier, so this is a very real possibility. Buck starts putting the document away, and they talk about the caves of the cave creature. Also, Buck realizes that there's some blood on the document. However, Buck, reading the letters once again, start putting them together. The IIAT of the first one and the TS Rap of the second one. It's good that they've now figured out the notes tell them it's a trap, and they realized they've walked right into it. They calmly collect themselves and leave the same way they came in. As they walk out, we hear some very strange creakings. However, while this is happening, Bill takes off, noticing a light right behind them. This is an insanely foolish decision of him, especially since they have absolutely no means of protecting themselves against the Ridge Ripper or cave creature, and they realize it's a trap now. Why he would do this, I have no idea. And as we see him run towards the light, he just vanishes and doesn't return. And we hear more screaming around them, almost as if the creature is circling them, stalking them. Buck reveals that he kept a small pistol on him with only 6 rounds in case they need it. And we see Huckleberry making a spear. If they don't have anything on them to greatly protect themselves, at least they have something to defend themselves with. However, we hear the squeaking noise all around them, and even in the trees almost. There are just some crazy noises happening. Buck even hears something moving through the leaves, so they get to walking so they aren't just sitting prey, and start shouting out for Bill. The cameraman mentions that they didn't even take their IR camera with them, so they have no means of looking around them in the dark. However, whatever is after them is closing in fast, as the noises are getting closer and closer. Huckleberry notices that he sees some grass parted in front of them, almost like someone's walked through them, so they decide to go there. They stop to take a break in the path, and the noises just keep going on and on. They can't go anywhere. They got a hill on one side and a river on the other. No weapons. Bill is missing. They're in a trap, and the SOA team is the bait. Huckleberry thinks that they're meant to be there to draw out the creature so the 13th Dominion can take it out for a client, which is very much what could be happening. As they're stopped, Buck notices something in the dark, and even Huckleberry saw it for a second. It's closing in on the team, whatever it is. They, realizing that they don't have much time left, need to find Bill, and fast. However, in this moment, we can see something literal inches behind Huckleberry, which is a very scary outcome. If the team is going to get through this, they need to all have each other's backs and prepare for the worst. They're hearing things everywhere, even above them. This monster is insanely fast, and they know something isn't right because Bill is gone and hasn't come back to them yet. As they continue looking for Bill, they hear a gunshot right next to them, and Bill didn't even have a gun, so they speed down the path to see what it was, and once again hear the screaming from the creature. They even see a light right ahead of them, and Bill's coat laying on the ground. Now things are getting dangerous, especially due to how cold it was, and we even see Bill's hat hanging on a tree with blood spilling down the tree. This does not look good. They notice all the blood is right where they heard the gunshot, and they get closer to the light in front of them and notice it was Bill's light. However, we will have to wait to see what happens because we are left with a to be continued. However, that's not all. Right after Trapper's In Memoriam section, we get a 13th Dominion video with their logo. The day before they released this episode, they mentioned that the video was missing from their drive. However, it showed back up with an extra part at the end, and we finally get to see what that extra part was. It's the 13th Dominion demanding Huckleberry to once reveal his secret to the world again, and ends with a "or Buck will be next." There's so much to talk about here, especially with an image of some soldiers in that section. Maybe it's a hint to what Huckleberry's secret is. However, I will be holding off until I get to the theory video, which I do promise will be next. I know a few of you have been waiting for it and to hear what I have to say. However, that is all we get for episode 8, and I loved it. Whew, yeah, that was a lot to talk about, and I've done all of that without water, so I'm not going to be too long here at the end, so I can wrap up, the audio section to throw it all together to have out by Sunday, which is tomorrow. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this recap, and I'm actually really looking forward to getting a theory video out. I know it's been a false promise, but I swear it'll be next. I have so much to talk about. I actually haven't written down any theories, so I'm going to have to do that after this to start working on the theory video, but there's so much interesting stuff happening. It's just all insane, and I'm excited to talk about it. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode as much as I did. It's just so cool, and it's awesome. Once again, thank you to the Sons of Appalachia for letting me do these recaps. I have so much fun making them, and I'm just glad to have these videos out there for everyone. The way I see it is that, some people are impatient in between episodes and always looking for more content, and I'm just a way to fill that void, giving them more Sons of Appalachia content, even if I'm talking about things that they already know. So yeah, I just really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you all for returning to my channel and once again, watching my content. I actually have some crazy ideas for videos in the future, even like a little kind of show thing. To explain it quickly and simply, even though it's not that simple to explain, it's like a mockumentary. There's these fake documentary movies / shows, and I want to do something like that, except instead of a documentary, it's like a podcast. This podcast at first would be investigating cryptids, creatures, and Bigfoots. However, further on, take on guests that have these weird encounters with a creature no one can explain. And then the story goes deeper into that mystery creature, and that's just an idea I had and really thought about a lot. So I don't know if I'm actually going to do this show. I would consider it a show. And I have I don't know, I just have to think of it more, and yeah, I don't want to reveal too much about it if this is something I want to do, as to not spoil it or anything. So yeah, I mean, if this is something interested that you'd watch in, also let me know. But yeah, however, if you really enjoyed this recap and other videos I do, please feel free to leave a like and comment below letting me know how I did once again, and of course subscribe. This helps me to continue growing my channel and allowing me to do things like that fake cryptid podcast idea I have, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.